ain't ever getting older.
What is up, guys? Welcome to the show for the 12s. Today I'm going to be talking about what the Seahawks should look for in free agency. And today we're going to do things a little bit different. I'm going to do it a no-cut commentary style where I'm hoping it'll be more fluid. I'm not going to make any edits, any cuts to it. I want to try to avoid my videos sounding kind of rehearsed. But yeah, let's get into it. So first I want to talk about the Seahawks undrafted free agents. We got quite a few of them. There's Stephen Hauschka, Bradley Sowell, Michael Morgan, Tony McDaniel, Marcel Reese, Will Tupuafu, Jerron Johnson, Kelsey McCray, Brandon Williams, Nico Thorpe, Demontre Moore, John Jenkins, Luke Wilson, and Devin Hester. The last two names I mentioned there, Luke Wilson and Devin Hester, I doubt will be on the team. Devin Hester I think is going to retire. He mentioned it was either briefly after the last game of the season or before the Super Bowl, something like that, that he's considering retirement. It would be amazing to have him though. Could you imagine Lockett and Devin Hester both returning kicks for us, you know? That would be awesome. But unfortunately, I don't think it's going to happen. And also with Luke Wilson, I don't think he's going to be a Seahawk next year, simply because I think the market is too big for him elsewhere. I think he'll get a deal done with somebody. You know, I would love to have him. I like Luke Wilson. He's an excellent backup tight end, and he can even start for us. He did start 2 or 3 seasons. I think it was 2. But yeah, I like the guy, but unfortunately, I don't think he'll be with the Seahawks, considering that he just has a bigger a need for him elsewhere. And for the most of the rest of these guys, they're kind of backups, you know, special team guys. Like I'm looking at Nico Thorpe, the cornerback. John Schneider said today in an earlier interview that he wants to resign him, and I totally agree with that. For those of you who don't know, Nico Thorpe was a late addition to the team in 2016. And he was a great special teams player, made a lot of tackles. He kind of looked like Ricardo Lockett did when Ricardo Lockett was on the team making special teams plays. And, you know, there's guys like Stephen Hauschka. You know, we just brought in Blair Walsh. There might be a competition there if we do re-sign Hauschka. It's not a given. You know, if the Seahawks don't resign Hauschka, then there's going to be some kind of competition between Walsh and maybe like a rookie or something. Yeah, I also think we should resign Marcel Reese, the fullback, without a doubt. I feel like he had an excellent season with us, you know. He could run block, he could even catch passes, you know. He looked really good, and he's older, but he looked good. And for a fullback, I would love to have him back on the team. There's also guys like if Luke Wilson goes, I would want Brandon Williams back, the tight end. You know, most of these guys, I'm looking at it, they're making under $1 million. The only guys who reached $1 million are Michael Morgan, the outside linebacker, Bradley Sowell, the tackle, and Stephen Hauschka. But yeah. So Seahawks need to first of all address their own undrafted free agents before they will go on to elsewhere. But I don't think they'll do a whole lot outside of re-signing their own guys. You know, Pete Carroll and John Schneider kind of they keep the nucleus of their group together. You know, they want to get younger, build through the draft, and sometimes when you acquire throughout free agency, you tend to get a little older, you know, and they just want to keep the youth in this group. So that being said, I don't think there's not a whole lot, you know. I don't have a whole lot of answers, you know. A lot of people want to build an offensive line through the free agency when I just don't see that happening, you know. That there's not the right fits, and with Seattle's they have like $25 million or something like that in cap space. I just don't see it happening. You know, there's Andrew Whitworth being thrown around. He's 35, played with the Bengals, made $9 million last year. He was actually Pro Football Focus's number 2 left tackle in 2016. But he'd make about $12 million next year to whoever's team that signs him. And so that's almost half of the money of our cap space. So I just, that's not a long-term answer. You know, he's 35 years old. So that's kind of a guy who's like, you're pushing at the last of your window, and you want to get a left tackle and just make it back to one more Super Bowl. But in the Seahawks case, they want to make it back to multiple Super Bowls and build that way, if that makes sense. But there's also Russell Okung, who got released by the Broncos. You know, he's only 29. He made about $5 million last year with a $3 million in royalties or something like that. But he was Pro Football Focus's number 38 left tackle, so there's a significant gap between those two. But Russell Okung's a guy, if they can get him for the right price, who can come in here. He's a veteran player, knows the system, knows the players, knows the coaches, knows everything. So I feel like that might be an option for him if they want to go that route. But you know, there's also Bruno Giacomini, who used to play with the Seahawks. He's on the right side of the line. He's scheduled to make $4.5 million in 2017, so not that much a difference between him and Okung. But that's the kind of guy that they like to have. They like to have the ferocious, aggressive offensive lineman who can just kind of maul you over. So that's a guy who they might want to consider if the price is right. Maybe they can sign him to like a $2 million deal or something like that. But outside of offensive line, there's only one other guy who I could see maybe bringing in here, and that's Courtney Upshaw, the outside linebacker from Atlanta. He made $1.25 million in 2016, so it's right around the ballpark of Michael Morgan, who was the starting outside linebacker or the strong side linebacker for Seattle. And he only had 24 tackles and 1 sack. That's not great numbers, but for what we would be asking out of him in his role, that seems like a fit to me. He's a guy with a lot of upside to him as well. So yeah, I mean, I don't believe that the Seahawks will go the route of signing a bunch of free agent players. I think if they do end up signing somebody, it'll be maybe one player, and that's it. I think they really want to build through the draft or continue the growth of the people that they have, especially on the offensive line. I think they more or less want to leave that intact, and I agree with that. I think they should more or less leave it alone. Maybe get one guy to come in here, play left tackle, and because guard to guard, they're solid. Between Glowinski, Britt, and Abedi, I think those 3 are pretty solid on the line. The only questionables are Fant and Gilliam. But yeah, so I think even if we get one guy in there, they'll do fine this year, you know. Last year they still got 10 wins and went to the divisional round of the playoffs with the current line they have. So I mean, they can get it done with what they have, you know. So it's not the end of the world. But yeah, those are my opinions on it. I don't think they should do much in free agency, if anything at all, but you know, it would be nice to get one guy in there in the offensive line competing for that job. But yeah, that's all I got for the video today. Be sure to subscribe if you're new or you want to watch more Seahawks content. I'll be trying to posting more consistently. I want to post once a week, but with work it's really tight, but I'll try to make that happen. So yeah, be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed. Shoot me a comment down below, say whether your opinions on free agency or what they should do, you know, who they should sign. Also be sure to follow me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook @ForThe12s. And I'll see you in the next video. Go Hawks!